Chapter 25:11. After so many moves, Lu Ming had completely adapted to the other party's attacks. Although the other party's attacks were strange, they were blocked by Lu Ming every time. Sometimes, Lu Ming didn't even need to deliberately block. It was as if it was an instinct. When the other party attacked, he could instinctively attack and block the other party's attack. Swoosh, swoosh. When Lu Ming adapted to the other party's attacks, Lu Ming began to counterattack. Moreover, every move attacked the other party's flaws. Lu Ming could often find the other party's flaws and counterattack at the critical moment. This kind of battle awareness. The more the Snake Man fought, the more shocked he became. At the same time, there was also excitement. In the blink of an eye, the two of them exchanged another 100 moves. At this time, the Snake Man was completely at a disadvantage and was forced to retreat by Lu Ming. Stop fighting. Stop fighting. Suddenly, the Snake Man raised his spear and erupted with an astonishing power. Lu Ming was directly bounced away. That was clearly the power of a peak heavenly emperor. After bouncing Lu Ming away, the Snake Man didn't chase after him. Instead, he shouted that he would stop fighting. Did I win? Lu Ming asked. You won, the Snake Man said. However, he wasn't unhappy at all. Instead, he was very excited. His eyes swept over Lu Ming's body as if he was looking at a treasure. Lu Ming's skin was covered in goosebumps from being stared at. Cough cough, senior. Who exactly are you? Lu Ming asked again. Me? I'm the gatekeeper here, the Snake Man said. Gatekeeper? Lu Ming was puzzled. That's right, gatekeeper. You outsiders want to enter Yellow Spring Island. Since you have to accept the test, we gatekeepers will send you to different islands according to your performance. Let me tell you, many islands contain some opportunities. It will be very beneficial to outsiders like you. The Snake Man said. Then how can I step into Yellow Spring Island? Lu Ming asked again. Of course it's to pass all the tests. Just now, I was testing your combat awareness. Your combat awareness is not bad. You passed this test. The Serpentine Man said. Senior, how do you know that I control the Tao of the Sovereign Lord? Have you seen it before? Also, I've seen statues in the cursed lands outside, and they all seem to contain the will of the Sovereign Lord. What's going on? Lu Ming asked a series of questions. You'll naturally know the answer to these questions after you've passed all the checkpoints. Now, you've passed through this island and are on to the next one. The Serpentine Man said. Let's go to the next island. Didn't they say that many islands have opportunities? Doesn't this island have any? Lu Ming's eyes darted around. Stop looking. There's nothing on this island. After saying that, the Serpent Man moved and disappeared. Lu Ming was speechless. Others would have fortuitous encounters when they passed the trial, but why didn't he get anything when he passed? Lu Ming walked forward gloomily. After passing through the island, he saw a pontoon bridge on the beach ahead. It extended all the way to the next island. From afar, the island was fiery red, as if it was filled with flames. Clearly, his path had been arranged. He could only go to this island because only this island had a path. The other islands had no paths. Lu Ming stepped onto the pontoon bridge and sped up. When Lu Ming approached the island, he found that it was really covered in flames, like a mountain of flames. The blazing aura could be felt from afar. Soon, Lu Ming officially arrived at the island. What a high temperature! Lu Ming was secretly shocked. Lu Ming felt that the temperature of any place on this island was as high as tens of thousands of degrees. With this kind of temperature, not to mention ordinary people, even many hard refining materials and some strange metals would turn to ashes here. Even Lu Ming had to circulate his energy to resist. Lu Ming stepped onto the island. When Lu Ming stepped onto the island, the pontoon bridge in the Yellow Spring Sea disappeared. Lu Ming patrolled around. There was nothing. The island was completely silent. There was no sign of any vegetation or living creatures. This island should be the second stage. What will it have? Lu Ming did not dare to be careless. He was cautious. Boom, boom. Suddenly, Lu Ming felt the ground shake. There seemed to be a giant walking towards him. Boom, boom. The rumbling sound grew louder and louder. Suddenly, Lu Ming's eyes focused. He saw a giant walking towards him. It was a giant with flames all over. Its body seemed to be made of magma. It was dozens of meters tall and looked like a small mountain. Boom! After a while, the giant raised its fist and smashed it at Lu Ming. In the process of smashing out, the giant's fist wriggled, turning into a giant hammer. The terrifying power made Lu Ming alarmed. Can't take it head-on. A thought flashed across Lu Ming's mind, and his figure retreated hastily. In my hands, you can't escape. The giant opened its mouth. Taking a step, it actually leaped up. Its speed was astonishingly fast, approaching Lu Ming with extreme speed. Both fists blasted out continuously. Balls of magma actually flew out from its body, turning into magma fists one after another, blasting towards Lu Ming. There were too many magma fists. Furthermore, each one was extremely fast. Lu Ming tried his best to dodge, but he couldn't avoid all of them. Lu Ming could only condense a long spear with his Tao of Sovereign and sweep it out, sweeping towards the few magma fists. Boom! Lu Ming felt a terrifying force surge towards him. His body directly flew out, smashing into a small hill, vomiting large mouthfuls of blood. Peak Heavenly Emperor. Lu Ming's eyes were incomparably solemn. This magma giant's cultivation was Peak Heavenly Emperor, and this place was the same as before. Lu Ming could not control the Divine Nine Dragon Cauldron at all. Unable to control the Divine Nine Dragon Cauldron, Lu Ming just relied on his own strength. Even if he erupted with fleshy body strength and the power of Sovereign, it would only barely reach the standard of a 6-star Heavenly Emperor. It was simply impossible to be the other party's match. Bang! The magma giant took a step forward and rushed towards Lu Ming. Its speed was swift to the extreme, launching another attack. It pushed with both hands. A huge meteor formed, wrapped in magma through its body, slamming down towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming did his best, stabbing out a shocking spear light. But, under the bombardment of the meteor, Lu Ming's spear light directly shattered. The huge meteor directly slammed into Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming was sent flying again, vomiting large mouthfuls of blood. Lu Ming felt like his body was about to split apart. The terrifying magma wrapped around Lu Ming. Lu Ming felt like his body was about to turn into ashes. If not for him revolving the imperishable ancient scripture and desperately resisting, he probably would not have been able to withstand it already. But that magma giant did not stop at all, blasting another punch over. Chapter 25:12. Right now, Lu Ming was not a match for the magma giant at all. Even if he did his best, he was only equivalent to a 6-star Heavenly Emperor. The difference between him and a peak Heavenly Emperor was huge. Lu Ming was severely injured and did not have the strength to fight back. Could it be that I'm going to die here today? A thought flashed through Lu Ming's mind. He was unwilling. He was extremely unwilling. At the same time, he was also very worried about Xian Yanqing, Xiang Xiang, and the rest. The difficulty he encountered was so great, so dangerous. What about Xian Yanqing and the rest? What would happen? He was unwilling. He wanted to resist. He desperately urged the 9-dragon cauldron. However, there was a force between heaven and earth that was too strong, completely suppressing the 9-dragon cauldron. Bang! The magma giant landed beside Lu Ming, looking down at Lu Ming from above. You're too weak. The magma giant opened his mouth. Magma flowed on his body, making it impossible to see his expression clearly. If you want to kill me, then kill me. If you want to humiliate me, don't even think about it. Lu Ming said coldly. Don't worry, I won't kill you now. The magma giant seemed to smile and continued, I won't kill you now, but it doesn't mean that I won't kill you in the future. I'll give you a chance now. I'll give you 50 years. In these 50 years, you can only stay on this island. Within these 50 years, you have to think of a way to defeat me. If you can't defeat me after 50 years, I will kill you and destroy your body and soul. Do you understand? After saying that, the magma giant turned around and left. Not long after, he disappeared. Giving me 50 years, is this a test? Lu Ming pondered. Then, Lu Ming sat down cross-legged and circulated the indestructible ancient scripture with all his might, beginning to heal his injuries. Although his injuries were heavy, they did not harm his source. Under the effect of the indestructible ancient scripture, he quickly recovered. Not long after, Lu Ming recovered. Within 50 years, if I want to defeat that magma giant, my combat strength must at least surpass that of an ordinary peak heavenly emperor. After recovering from his injuries, Lu Ming had no choice but to consider this question. 50 years seemed very long, but that was only for ordinary people. For people at Lu Ming's level, it would pass in the blink of an eye. If he wanted to surpass an ordinary peak heavenly emperor in 50 years, it would be difficult. With Lu Ming's current situation, if he wanted to surpass an ordinary peak heavenly emperor, there were only two paths. The first one was a breakthrough in the physical body. Now that Lu Ming had cultivated the seven gods' mysterious arts to the middle stage of the 6th level, his physical strength was equivalent to a 4-star heavenly emperor. Or perhaps he could suppress an ordinary 4-star heavenly emperor. As long as he cultivated the seven gods' mysterious arts to the late stage of the 6th level, his physical strength would skyrocket, equivalent to a peak heavenly emperor. Coupled with the power of the Tao of Sovereign, Lu Ming was confident he could defeat the lava giant. However, with the seven gods' mysterious art at this stage, it would be extremely difficult for him to improve further. If he cultivated step by step, it would be normal for him to spend tens of thousands of years, or even hundreds of thousands of years. Those Archean body cultivators had to spend a lot of time and effort to break through to the next level. Why did Lu Ming break through so quickly before? That was simply because his lucky chances were too deep, obtaining one rare treasure after another. Those treasures, each one of them was a rare treasure in the world. Refining that kind of treasure, Lu Ming's physical body broke through consecutively. If he cultivated step by step, Lu Ming's physical body realm would be far from his current level. Wanting to cultivate the physical body to the level of a peak heavenly emperor within 50 years was virtually impossible. The second path was to cultivate the Tao of Sovereign to the peak heavenly emperor. Lu Ming's Tao of Sovereign was too powerful, able to cross an entire realm. As long as the Tao of Sovereign was cultivated to the peak heavenly emperor, Lu Ming's combat strength would be equivalent to a peak heavenly emperor. Then, with the power of the physical body, he could also defeat the lava giant. However, to cultivate the Tao of Sovereign to the peak heavenly emperor within 50 years, it was simply harder than breaking through the physical body. The higher the realm, the more difficult it was to break through. Previously, Lu Ming was able to continuously break through because he had comprehended the will of Sovereign on the statue. However, it had also taken him several decades. Now, to ask him to comprehend it himself and break through within 50 years, it was even more impossible. However, Lu Ming had to do it. Lu Ming had no doubt that if he did not defeat the other party after 50 years, he would definitely be killed by the other party. What should I do? Lu Ming's mind began to ponder at high speed. This must be a test. If it's not a test, then the other party can kill me right now. Since it's a test, there will definitely be a chance of survival. Alright, that snakeman from before said that there would be opportunities on some islands. Maybe this island also has similar opportunities that can allow me to break through. Thinking of this, Lu Ming's eyes lit up and he began to search on the island. The island was not very big, with a radius of several thousand miles. Very quickly, it was searched by Lu Ming. There was nothing. This island did not have the slightest bit of vegetation, nor the slightest bit of life. Apart from flames, there was only flames. There was only a magma lake that was filled with terrifyingly hot magma. The temperature was at least a dozen or 100 times higher than outside. There's nothing. How should I break through? Lu Ming fell into deep thought. Rumble. At this moment, a violent rumble sounded again. The huge magma giant came again. Brat, do you think you can defeat me just by standing here in a daze? Watch me hammer you. The magma giant roared. Its arm turned into a huge magma hammer and smashed towards Lu Ming. Don't think that I'm easy to bully. Lu Ming was furious and fought with the other party. However, after a few moves, Lu Ming was beaten down and heavily injured. I just think that you're easy to bully. What's wrong? If you have the ability, hit me. The magma giant shouted in an infuriating manner. After that, it laughed loudly and left. Lu Ming was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Along the way, it had always been him suppressing others. This time, he was suppressed by a big fool. It was really depressing. No, I must break through within 50 years. I will not die here. Lu Ming's gaze became firm, and then he began to heal his injuries. After his injuries were healed, Lu Ming began to comprehend the sovereign Tao. When Lu Ming was cultivating, the magma giant did not come to deal with Lu Ming. In the blink of an eye, a year had passed. In this year, Lu Ming focused on cultivating the sovereign Tao. However, his progress was slow and his gains were minimal. No, at this rate, I won't be able to break through to the peak Great Emperor realm in 50 years. Lu Ming muttered to himself. If he cultivated step by step like this, it would not be possible even if he had several times more time. Lu Ming's talent was already high enough. If it was someone else, without any opportunities, they would not be able to break through in 50,000 years, let alone 50 years. Rumble. At this moment, the magma giant appeared again after a year. As soon as it appeared, it raised its fist and smashed over. Lu Ming was naturally no match for the other party. Soon, he was heavily injured again. Brat, you haven't improved at all. I think you'll be dead in 50 years. Chapter 25:13. Lu Ming was so angry that he vomited blood. Especially the lava giant's annoying look. It made Lu Ming gnash his teeth in anger. But then, Lu Ming had no choice but to reconsider the problem of cultivation. No, cultivating the path of sovereign, without any external help, it's impossible to reach the peak of the Great Emperor realm within 50 years. It's better to cultivate the physical body. There are flames everywhere here, and the temperature is shockingly high. It's burning the body all the time, but it has a tempering effect. It's better to cultivate the physical body, and there's still a trace of hope. Lu Ming thought for a moment and decided to cultivate the physical body. It was not only because of the environment here, but also because there was only one bottleneck in the cultivation of the physical body. Once he broke through this bottleneck, Lu Ming's physical strength could reach the peak of the Heavenly Emperor realm. However, Lu Ming was only a 5-star Great Emperor. If he wanted to reach the peak of the Great Emperor realm, there would be 2 bottlenecks during this period. Breaking through one bottleneck was naturally easier than breaking through 2 bottlenecks. Having made his decision, Lu Ming put down the path of sovereign and began to cultivate the physical body. Lu Ming removed the defense on the surface of his body and circulated the 7 gods' mysterious art. Immediately, the temperature outside reached tens of thousands of degrees, enveloping Lu Ming's body. Chi-chi-chi. Lu Ming's body emitted a chi-chi-chi sound. Buzz. Lu Ming's muscles vibrated. When his muscles vibrated, the high temperature outside seeped into the depths of Lu Ming's body, helping Lu Ming temper his body. After cultivating for a while, Lu Ming took out a stalk of Emperor medicine and refined the energy of the Emperor medicine to assist in his cultivation. A few days later, Lu Ming stopped cultivating. It's a little effective. The speed of cultivation here is several times faster than other places, but I can't break through in 50 years. Lu Ming frowned and pondered. With the help of the high temperature, it was indeed faster to cultivate one's physical body here compared to the outside world. However, it was not so fast that it was exaggerated. Lu Ming estimated that it would be difficult to cultivate to the late-stage 6th level within 50 years. To that lava lake. Suddenly, Lu Ming's eyes lit up as he thought of the magma lake. There was a lava lake on the island, and the temperature was at least several dozen times higher than outside. Lu Ming wanted to use the lava lake to cultivate. This was a cruel and extreme method, but Lu Ming had no other choice. Go. Thinking of this, Lu Ming directly rushed towards the magma lake. When they arrived at the edge of the lava lake, horrifying heat waves surged towards Lu Ming. The temperature here was 10 times higher than anywhere else. Just by standing on the side, the temperature here was already extremely terrifying. Lu Ming had no choice but to circulate his energy to resist. Get used to it first. Lu Ming was not in a hurry to rush into the magma lake. The temperature below was too high. It was far from what ordinary magma could compare to. It was too terrifying. If Lu Ming directly jumped down, even with the strength of his body, he would probably be melted. Immediately, Lu Ming removed his defense at the edge of the magma lake and began to cultivate. As soon as he removed his defense, the horrifying heat enveloped Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's body seemed to be burning. Chi. Bursts of green smoke rose from Lu Ming's body. Bursts of tearing pain came from all over his body. However, Lu Ming did not even frown. This pain was nothing to him. Sure enough, Lu Ming felt that the effect of cultivating here was better. Lu Ming revealed a trace of joy. Then, he calmed his qi and focused on cultivating. Time passed quickly, and 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. Lu Ming had completely adapted to the high temperature of the magma lake. In these 3 years, the magma giant did not come to find Lu Ming again. Swish! Suddenly, Lu Ming opened his eyes and jumped into the magma. 3 years of adaptation was enough. Now, he wanted to use the magma to temper his body. He had been on this island for more than 4 years. Time passed quickly. 50 years would pass in the blink of an eye. He had to hurry. After jumping into the magma, Lu Ming sank into the magma. The terrifying magma wrapped around Lu Ming. Pain. Incomparable pain. Lu Ming discovered that his skin began to melt. Subsequently, his muscles began to melt as well. Block it, Lu Ming growled. While circulating the indestructible ancient scripture to recover quickly, he also circulated the 7 gods' mysterious art to temper his body with the high temperature here. In the end, it was blocked by Lu Ming. Although he was in pain all the time, the effect of cultivating here was indeed much greater. This was an extremely extreme cultivation method. Ordinary people could not bear it at all. This was because the physical body was constantly in the process of being melted and healed. How many people could endure such pain? Just like that, Lu Ming cultivated wholeheartedly. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, more than 20 years had passed. Lu Ming had been on this island for almost 30 years. However, Lu Ming's body still had not broken through. It was still at the mid-stage of the 6th level. Not enough. Continue down. Lu Ming began to sink. The deeper he went, the higher the temperature of the magma lake. After descending a few hundred meters, the temperature here was several times higher than above. Lu Ming continued to cultivate. Not far away, the magma giant was watching. This kid is tenacious and decisive. He's ruthless to himself. Not bad, not bad. The magma giant muttered. After saying that, he turned around and left. Lu Ming continued to cultivate, completely forgetting the time. Every once in a while, he would sink for a period of time. Later, he almost sank to the bottom of the magma lake. Breakthrough. On this day, Lu Ming growled. His muscles and bones trembled violently, emitting thunderous sounds. Moreover, there were waves of dragon roars. Boom, boom. The surrounding magma exploded continuously. At the bottom of the magma lake, it was as if there was a wild behemoth rolling about. Boom. Suddenly, the magma exploded. A figure rushed out from the bottom of the magma lake. This figure emitted an astonishing aura from head to toe. This figure was naturally Lu Ming. At this moment, his muscles trembled. The blood in his meridians surged like an angry dragon, powerful to the extreme. Broke through. His physical body finally broke through, reaching the late-stage 6th level of the 7 gods' profound art. At this level, the strength of the physical body was equivalent to a peak heavenly emperor, almost cultivated to the peak. After a long while, the aura on Lu Ming's body concealed itself. Lu Ming's mind stirred. A set of clothes appeared and he put them on. Previously, in the magma lake, his clothes had long been burned. 46 years, I finally broke through. Lu Ming's eyes were incomparably bright, the corners of his mouth curling into a smile. It had already been 46 years since he came to this island. In these 46 years, Lu Ming did not rely on any rare treasures. He relied purely on his own willpower to break through the bottleneck and push his physical body to the peak. Chapter 25:14. However, there was no point in cultivating the 7 gods' arcane art at this point. Although there was still a 7th level of the 7 gods' arcane art, there were only 4 words. 10,000 elements in one. That was the entire content of the 7th level of the 7 Gods arcane art. Lu Ming was confused. Boom, boom. At this time, there was a series of roars in the distance. The magma giant appeared again. Kid, you finally dare to show up after hiding for so long. Come and take my punch. Before the magma giant arrived, it threw a punch from afar. A huge fist that was condensed from magma blasted toward Lu Ming. Its power was extremely shocking. If it was when Lu Ming had just arrived on the island, Lu Ming would not be able to block it at all and would be injured by this punch. But now, boom. Lu Ming's muscles trembled as he threw a punch across the air. Lu Ming did not use the power of the Path of Sovereign in this punch. It was just the strength of his physical body. When the punch was thrown, the void was directly penetrated, and a pitch-black void appeared. Endless void storms condensed into fist force and blasted toward the magma fist. Boom. The two attacks collided fiercely, and the entire island shook. Then, the two dissipated. Ha ha ha, kid. It seems that you've broken through. Come, play with me. The magma giant laughed and rushed toward Lu Ming. Today, I'm going to beat you up. A murderous light flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. His muscles and bones shook, and his body directly passed through the space and appeared in front of the magma giant. He punched continuously with both fists. The magma giant also showed a strong fighting spirit. As its body moved, magma fists blasted toward Lu Ming. The two of them engaged in a fierce battle. For a time, it was difficult to determine the winner. Haha, kid, not bad. You can fight with me, but you're still a little short if you want to defeat me. The magma giant grinned, then add a little more. Just now, I was just warming up my muscles and bones. Lu Ming sneered. Just now, he was indeed stretching his muscles and bones. His physical body had just broken through, and his strength had skyrocketed. He needed some time to get used to it, so he didn't use the power of the Tao of Sovereign just now. Instead, he relied purely on his physical strength. Now, he was almost used to it. Boom. Lu Ming's aura became even stronger. His entire body was enveloped by a layer of purple gold light. With the addition of the Path of Ruler, Lu Ming's battle prowess had undoubtedly increased. Although the increase was not particularly great compared to his physical strength, it was enough to suppress the lava giant. Boom, boom. Lu Ming began to attack again. A purple gold fist light tore through the air, instantly shattering the lava giant's attack and forcing it to retreat. After a dozen or so moves, Lu Ming seized the opportunity and punched the lava giant's chest. The lava giant's chest exploded, and a big hole appeared. However, the lava giant's entire body seemed to be condensed from lava. The huge hole that was blasted open was completely fine, and it recovered in the blink of an eye. Brat, not bad, you win. Magma Giant shouted. Again, I'm not done yet. Continue. Lu Ming shouted and continued to attack. Lu Ming had been beaten up by the lava giant several times before, and he was really angry. If he didn't beat him back, it would be difficult for him to vent his anger. Nest, brat, I've already let you win, but you're still fighting. Ah, Magma Giant shouted. In a moment of carelessness, he was punched in the face by Lu Ming. Half of his face had exploded, but it recovered in an instant. However, Lu Ming kicked the lava giant's stomach again, sending him flying. Lu Ming took a step forward and chased after him, continuing to attack. You're shameless. You're still attacking. Stop, Nest. Magma Giant kept shouting, but his vitality was too tenacious. After being hit by Lu Ming continuously, he seemed to be fine. He couldn't be killed at all. However, after being hit, he still felt pain, so he kept screaming. After being hit by Lu Ming dozens of times in a row, Lu Ming stopped. At this moment, the lava giant looked at Lu Ming with resentment. It was as if a young girl in her prime had been humiliated by a thug. Narrow-minded, vengeful. Magma Giant muttered. What did you say? Lu Ming glared. Nothing? You've passed. Continue to the next island. Magma Giant turned around and ran, disappearing without a trace in the blink of an eye. Lu Ming revealed a smile. With his current strength, he was finally standing at the peak of the Heaven Realm and Evil God Realm. Without the need for the 9-dragon cauldron, he could suppress a peak heavenly emperor with just his own strength. In the current heaven realm and evil god realm, other than the invincible powerhouses who were half a step into the martial god realm, there were also true martial gods. He no longer had any opponents. However, in the entire heaven realm and evil god realm, how many demigods and martial gods were there? In the past, he had to look up to the realm, the existence that he had to look up to. Through his hard work, he had finally reached it. What's on the next island? Lu Ming stepped forward and arrived at the other end of the island. Sure enough, Lu Ming found a pontoon bridge here that led to the next island. Lu Ming did not hesitate and stepped onto the pontoon bridge, heading towards the next island. Not long after, Lu Ming arrived at the next island. This island was completely different from the previous island. This island was full of vitality, with green trees and a faint fragrance in the air. Lu Ming wandered around the island. After wandering around for a long time, Lu Ming arrived at the center of the island. Here, there was a huge mountain peak. Below the mountain peak, there was a cliff. Lu Ming's eyes suddenly widened. He discovered that there was a huge statue at the bottom of the cliff. The statue was exactly the same as the statues that Lu Ming had seen in the other cursed lands. The only difference was that it was many times bigger. On top of that, the statue was filled with the will of the ruler, and it was extremely strong. Even from a distance, Lu Ming could feel the strong will of the ruler spreading in all directions. Following this, Lu Ming shifted his gaze upward and discovered a huge word carved on the cliff above the statue. The word battle. 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 When Lu Ming's gaze was fixed on the word battle, there was suddenly a loud roar from the word battle. It was filled with an endless fighting spirit. It was as if an undefeatable expert was having a great battle with someone. Following this, the voice disappeared. However, in Lu Ming's eyes, the word battle began to twist as a mysterious intent surfaced in Lu Ming's mind. It was as if the word battle represented the origin of all battles, battle strength, and battle skills. It was incomparably mysterious and unfathomable. Amazing! This is too amazing. In just a few breaths' time, Lu Ming felt like he had a new understanding of the various battle skills and abilities that he had cultivated in the past. Not bad to be able to reach this island. Chapter 25:15. A voice suddenly came from behind Lu Ming, shocking Lu Ming. There was someone behind him, but he did not notice at all. Even with his current cultivation and powerful spiritual perception, he was still unable to notice that someone was standing behind him. Lu Ming's back was covered in cold sweat. He quickly turned around and saw a middle-aged man with a pair of transparent wings on his back. He was standing not far away, looking at Lu Ming with a smile. Lu Ming said with a stern look, "Are you the guardian of this island?" "No, I'm not the guardian." The man with transparent wings shook his head and said, "Strictly speaking, those are the guardians." His finger was pointing at the statue and the word battle. "Those are the guardians?" Lu Ming was confused. "That's right. I know you've mastered the Tao of the ruler realm. This trial is very simple. You just need to fully comprehend the will of the ruler realm on the statue and fully comprehend the character battle within 100 years to pass the trial." The man with transparent wings said, "What if I fail to comprehend it within 100 years? Lu Ming asked, "If you fail to comprehend it, I'll come and kill you." The man with transparent wings said with a smile. Lu Ming's eyes glittered. He did not doubt the man's words at all. The man with transparent wings gave Lu Ming an unfathomable feeling. Lu Ming had a feeling that he was no match against the man. The man was at least a half-martial god, or even a martial god. Make full use of your time and comprehend it, the man with transparent wings said. He turned around and took a step forward, vanishing into thin air. Lu Ming had no idea how the man had disappeared. Phew! Taking a deep breath, Lu Ming headed toward the cliff. 100 years. Lu Ming did not believe he could not comprehend the will of the Tao of rulers and the word battle on the statue. Not far from the statue, Lu Ming sat down cross-legged and began to comprehend the sovereign will on the statue. The will of the sovereign lord on this statue was much stronger and more profound than the ones on the statues Lu Ming had encountered before. Moreover, it was many times more intense and profound. It was naturally much more difficult to comprehend. However, Lu Ming was still very excited. He could sense that as he studied the statue, he was gaining new understandings of the Tao of the Sovereign Lord, and was becoming more and more adept at using it. Even though he was using the Tao of the Sovereign Lord, he couldn't fully unleash its wonders. However, Lu Ming was still able to learn a bit about the Tao of the Sovereign Lord from the statue, which he eagerly absorbed. 5 years passed in the blink of an eye. Lu Ming's understanding of the Tao of the Sovereign Lord was progressing rapidly. Lu Ming could already sense that he was on the verge of a breakthrough. However, Lu Ming was not in a rush to achieve a breakthrough. He continued to comprehend the Tao of the Sovereign Lord for another 2 years, before taking out a huge number of God stones and absorbing them to achieve a breakthrough. Not long after, Lu Ming successfully achieved a breakthrough and achieved the 6-star martial monarch realm. Haha, my cultivation has improved tremendously with this statue. It won't take me 100 years to comprehend the Tao of the Sovereign Lord. Lu Ming was in a great mood after achieving a breakthrough. He was full of confidence. After stabilizing his cultivation, Lu Ming continued to comprehend the Tao of the Sovereign Lord. It was even more difficult to achieve a breakthrough. This time, Lu Ming spent over 20 years to comprehend the Tao of the Sovereign Lord. Crack. When Lu Ming fully comprehended the will of the ruler on the statue, cracks appeared on the statue. Just like the statues that Lu Ming had encountered in the past, they shattered. I've comprehended it all. With my current understanding of the Tao of the Sovereign Lord, I should be able to achieve a breakthrough. Time to do it. Lu Ming's eyes lit up as he continued to take out the divine stones and began to refine them frantically. This time, it took a few months for Lu Ming to achieve a breakthrough and reach the peak 7-star martial monarch realm. The world energy in his body, the purplish gold energy, became denser and denser. With a thought, his entire body was covered with the purplish gold Tao of the Sovereign Lord. Lu Ming felt that he was now filled with boundless energy. With a casual strike, he could shatter the earth and shake the heavens. With the Tao of the Sovereign Lord, Lu Ming could suppress an ordinary peak heavenly emperor with just the Tao of the Sovereign Lord. Coupled with the power equivalent to a peak heavenly emperor, Lu Ming's current combat strength was terrifying to the extreme. I wonder if I have the confidence to face an invincible demigod realm powerhouse now. Lu Ming pondered. He hadn't fought before, so he wasn't very sure. However, he knew that an invincible demigod realm powerhouse was much stronger than a peak heavenly emperor. Without fighting, he didn't have any confidence. It's only been less than 30 years, and I've already comprehended this statue. Next, I'll focus on comprehending the word battle. Lu Ming pondered. After consolidating his cultivation, Lu Ming looked at the word battle. Waves of wondrous concepts emerged in Lu Ming's heart. Lu Ming began to carefully comprehend them. But a few months later, Lu Ming ended his cultivation and was somewhat bewildered. After a few months of comprehension, he felt that this word battle was simply unfathomable and unimaginably profound. At the beginning, he seemed to have benefited a lot, but as he continued to comprehend, he became more and more confused and puzzled. This word battle was not a martial skill, battle skill, or divine ability. It seemed to be a kind of concept, an extremely profound concept. It was as if this word battle was the origin of all battles. Whether it was battle skills, martial skills, divine abilities, and so on, they were all contained within this word battle. It was all-encompassing. It was truly all-encompassing. Lu Ming had a feeling that as long as he comprehended this word battle, he would be able to use any battle skill or divine ability at his fingertips. He would be able to use any weapon with ease. Wonderful, too wonderful. Lu Ming was not surprised, but delighted. He had a feeling that this was a great opportunity. As long as he grasped it, he would benefit immensely. Lu Ming began to comprehend again. Lu Ming had underestimated the difficulty of comprehending this word battle. In the first 20 years, Lu Ming seemed to be wandering in doubt, unable to make any real gains. The difficulty of comprehending this word was much more difficult than the Tao of Sovereign. It wasn't until 20 years later that Lu Ming finally made some progress. He had made considerable gains and was on the right track. At this time, he had been on this island for 50 years, and he had been in the Yellow Springs realm for more than 100 years. Lu Ming was completely immersed in his cultivation. He was like a sponge, desperately absorbing water from the outside. Soon, Lu Ming had been on this island for 80 years. There were only 20 years left before the 100-year deadline. Lu Ming was still comprehending and had not finished. In the center of the Yellow Springs Sea, there was a huge island. This island was the largest island in this sea region. On it, there were undulating mountain ranges and countless peaks. Many of the peaks had huge palaces built on them. Chapter 25:16. Yellow Spring Island was the core of this place. At this moment, two pontoon bridges appeared on the shore of Yellow Spring Island at almost the same time. They extended from a small island in the distance to here. Two figures were running wildly on the pontoons, heading toward Yellow Spring Island. One of them was the ancestral dragon, and the other was the other tribe's divine ancestor. The two of them had reached Yellow Spring Island at almost the same time. They were also the first to reach Yellow Spring Island. When the two of them reached Yellow Spring Island, they noticed each other, and their gazes met. "Ancestral dragon, you're quite fast." The other tribe's divine ancestor sneered. "You're not slow either," Ancestral Dragon said. Both of them were emitting cold-killing intent. However, both of them were wary of each other and did not attack. At this moment, the two of them discovered a towering tree not far from them. This tree was incomparably huge, with a diameter of at least a few hundred meters. It towered into the clouds, and the entire tree, not only its trunk, but also its leaves were suffused with multicolored light. However, the most eye-catching thing was the fruits on the tree. There were a total of 18 fruits, and each of them was only the size of a fist. However, they immediately attracted the attention of the ancestral dragon and the other tribe's divine ancestor. "Fruits of life. It's the fruits of life," the other tribe's divine ancestor muttered, his eyes burning with passion. He had finally found the fruit of life. Wasn't his goal in entering Yellow Spring Realm for the fruits of life? With the fruits of life, his injuries would be healed. In fact, with enough fruits of life, divine ancestor Sha Xian's injuries would also be healed. At that time, it would be easy for him to flatten the celestial realm. At the same time, the ancestral dragon's eyes glowed with passion. Whoosh, whoosh. Almost at the same time, the two of them pounced toward the fruits of life. The two of them reached out to grab the fruits of life at the same time. However, at this moment, the entire fruit of life glowed. Then, two roots emerged from the ground and whipped toward the ancestral dragon and the other tribe's divine ancestor. Bam! Bam! The power of the roots was unbelievably strong. The hands of the ancestral dragon and the other tribe's divine ancestor were instantly crushed, and the two of them were sent flying. The expressions of the two changed, turning slightly stern. In the next moment, the two of them moved again. They unleashed their full strength and pounced toward the fruit of life. Crash! This time, the ground surged, and more than 10 roots appeared in an instant, whipping towards the two like a violent storm. Bang! Bang! The two of them continuously collided with the roots. Then, their bodies violently trembled and they retreated far away. At the same time, they spat out blood. Both of them were actually injured. They were two martial gods, yet they were injured by the roots of the tree of life. If the people from the heavenly realm and the evil god realm saw this, they would be dumbstruck. Their gazes were somewhat gloomy. The ancestral dragon didn't seem to be affected by the situation, but the outsider's sacred patriarch had an unsightly expression on his face. His desire for the fruits of life and death far exceeded that of the ancestral dragon. Damn it! The outsider's sacred ancestor roared in anger. He had gone through so much trouble to get here. Could it be that he couldn't get the fruit of life? Right at this moment, the space above the tree of life rippled as a figure appeared out of thin air. This was a middle-aged man wearing a white robe. He looked very refined. When this person was young, he must have been a refined young master. The holy ancestor and the ancestral dragon both looked at this person warily. because they couldn't see through this person's cultivation at all. This time, only the two of you have entered the martial god realm. The middle-aged man glanced at the ancestral dragon and the sacred ancestor and murmured with a confused look. Currently, we're the only martial gods in the outside world. The sacred ancestor said, only two martial gods? Strange, what's going on outside? Where is this place? The middle-aged man murmured, before looking at the ancestral dragon and the sacred ancestor and said, you're looking for the fruit of life, right? The fruit of life only ripens once every countless years. It's not ripe yet. It's not ripe yet? The ancestral dragon and the sacred ancestor were startled. That's right, it's not ripe yet. Therefore, if you try to pluck it, the tree of life will attack you. However, once it's ripe, as long as you don't harm the tree of life, it won't retaliate. The middle-aged man explained, how long will it take for the fruit of life to ripen? The sacred ancestor asked. Soon, the fruit of life is about to ripen. As for how long it'll take, I can't say for sure. If it's fast, it might take a few years, or a few hundred years. You just have to wait a little longer, the middle-aged man said with a smile. Following this, he glanced into the distance and mumbled, will that kid be able to pass the trial? Let's hope so. After so many years, someone has finally mastered the Tao of Tao. At least there's some hope. Saying this, he turned around and disappeared from the place. The ancestral dragon and the sacred ancestor exchanged glances with one another. Their eyes flickered with murderous intent. A few hundred years was nothing to them. They just had to wait a little longer. When the fruit of life ripened, they would surely have an intense battle to compete for it. The ancestral dragon, in particular, had the urge to kill the sacred ancestor right away. Once the sacred ancestor obtained more fruits of life, the heaven realm would be in great danger. But in the end, they were still not confident. The two of them did not rashly make a move. They sat at the side and waited. Time gradually passed. A few years later, a third person finally arrived at Yellow Spring Island. It was the heavenly lightning monarch from the heaven realm. A few months later, an undefeatable expert from the evil god tribe arrived as well. Following this, more people arrived at Yellow Spring Island. 10 years later, more than 100 people from each side arrived at Yellow Spring Island. Each of them had passed a different trial. It did not mean that those with lower cultivation would fail the trial. Therefore, there were differences in cultivation among the people from both sides. After arriving, they were warned by the ancestral dragon and the sacred ancestor to stay away from the fruit of life. If anyone below the martial god realm was struck by the roots of the fruit of life, they would definitely die. The crowd waited patiently. Suddenly, a strong fragrance came from the fruit of life. This fragrance made people feel comfortable all over when they smelled it. All the pores on their bodies opened up. Some people who had hidden injuries quickly recovered. The fruit of life had ripened. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. Whoosh, whoosh. The ancestral dragon and the sacred ancestor reacted the fastest. They immediately dashed toward the fruit of life. This time, when they approached the fruit of life did not attack them. The fruit of life had indeed ripened. Ancestral dragon, die! The sacred ancestor suddenly yelled. He turned around and charged at the ancestral dragon. You're the one who's going to die. The ancestral dragon had the same thought as he charged at the sacred ancestor. Chapter 25:17. The two martial gods clashed fiercely. Neither of them could get close to the tree of life. Those below the martial god realm seized the opportunity and rushed toward the tree of life. There were more than 100 people on each side. How could 18 fruits of life be enough? Naturally, they fought fiercely. More than 100 people were fighting in a chaotic battle. Both sides were evenly matched. Soon, some people died. The heavenly thunder sovereign was fighting a demigod from the evil god tribe. Ching Tsong, the titan longhorn beetle, and the others all had their own opponents. The area around the tree of life was boiling, and the chaotic energy was overflowing. Bang! Bang! The ancestral dragon and the other tribe's divine ancestor fought high up in the sky. They had already exchanged hundreds of blows. Both sides wanted the fruits of life, but they did not want the other side to get them. Naturally, they would fight with their lives on the line. Don't fight. Snatch the fruits. The other tribe's divine ancestor transmitted his voice to his subordinates. All of the evil god tribe members attacked the heavenly realm beings. Then, they seized the opportunity and rushed toward the fruits of life. Not good. Snatch the fruits of life. The heavenly realm beings also shouted and rushed toward the fruits of life. In an instant, each of the 18 fruits of life was targeted by more than 10 people. Everyone surrounded the fruits of life and started another round of chaotic battle. However, there were still fruits of life that were snatched away. The first fruit of life was snatched by the demigod from the evil god tribe. However, the heavenly thunder sovereign also obtained one. Both sides exchanged blows. In the blink of an eye, several fruits of life were snatched away. Whoosh! Suddenly, an ordinary-looking evil god tribe member emitted a shocking blood-red light. Then, a drop of blood flew out and turned into a human figure. His appearance could not be seen clearly. The blood all over his body wriggled and emitted a shocking, killing intent. Kill! The blood-red figure rushed out. The blood-red light was like a sword as it charged toward the heavenly realm beings. Those beings with heavenly emperor cultivation were directly killed. Divine ancestor Shah Xian, the ancestral dragon roared. Haha, although Shah Xian has not recovered, he still has the strength of a demigod. Let's see how you guys block him. The other tribe's divine ancestor roared. Saint Ancestor Shah Xian had the strength of a demigod and an almost immortal body. He was too strong. Other than the heavenly thunder sovereign, no one in the heaven domain was a match for him. Wherever he went, the living beings in the heaven domain would either die or be injured. Divine Ancestor Shah Xian snatched several fruits of life. Soon, all 18 fruits of life were plucked. Saint Ancestor Shah Xian cast his gaze towards the living beings of the heaven realm who had obtained the life fruits and charged towards them. Damn it! Don't even think about it. The ancestral dragon roared and turned into a huge true dragon. His body was covered in layers of flames, and his aura was rising rapidly. Ancestral Gragon, are you crazy? Do you want to die? The sacred ancestor roared in shock. At worst, we'll just die together. Roaring, the dragon ancestor charged madly toward the outsider sacred ancestor. Boom, boom. After a series of explosions, the sacred ancestor was knocked back, and his body trembled. Ancestral Gragon was going all out, burning his life essence to kill divine ancestor Shah Xian and the other divine ancestor. Now that the outsiders had obtained more fruits of life, if they allowed them to recover, the consequences would be dire. They might as well take them down with them. Lunatic! The foreign race's divine ancestor bellowed, not daring to continue fighting. In a flash, he charged towards divine ancestor Shah Xian. Divine ancestor Shah Xian turned into a streak of bloodlight and disappeared into the foreign race's divine ancestor's body. Go! The alien race's sacred ancestor shouted and charged into the depths of Yellow Spring Island. Stay here! Ancestral Gragon roared, staring at the foreign race's divine ancestor as he charged madly. The two fought fiercely, clashing repeatedly. The foreign race's divine ancestor was injured, but he did not linger and focused on escaping. Now that the outsiders had obtained more fruits of life, there was no need for him to risk his life against Ancestral Gragon. As long as he recovered in the future, they would be the ones to succeed. Ancestral Gragon and the foreign race's divine ancestor charged into the depths of Yellow Spring Island. The other foreign races also charged toward the mountains and palaces on Yellow Spring Island. Yellow Spring Island was huge, and it stretched as far as the eye could see. There were countless mountains and palaces scattered around. Although the heavenly world beings chased with all their might, they were not stronger than the foreign race. Soon, they lost track of the foreign race. Ancestral Gragon chased for a while, but he could not catch up to the foreign race's divine ancestor. The foreign race's divine ancestor had escaped, disappearing into the vast mountains. Ancestral Gragon's face was extremely ugly. He retreated and began to gather the heavenly world beings. He had just burned his life essence, and now, he was weak and his aura was weak. Soon, the heavenly world beings gathered. Senior Ancestral Gragon, you burned your life essence. Quickly swallow a fruit of life to stabilize your injuries. A heavenly world being walked out and gave him a fruit of life. Although the fruit of life was extremely precious and he could not bear to part with it, he understood that Ancestral Gragon was the key to the heavenly world. Without Ancestral Gragon, it would be useless no matter how many fruits of life he obtained. All right, I'll remember this fruit of life. I'll compensate you accordingly. Ancestral Gragon nodded. He did not stand on ceremony. He took the fruit of life, swallowed it, and began to refine it. A few days later, Ancestral Gragon's aura stabilized. As expected of the fruit of life, Ancestral Gragon exclaimed. The effects of the fruit of life were truly astonishing. Now, the energy of that fruit of life was far from being refined. However, because he had burned his life essence, he had stabilized it. In the future, as long as he continued to refine the fruit of life, his injuries would slowly recover. How many fruits of life did we get this time? Ancestral Gragon asked. Senior Ancestral Gragon, I'll have one. I'll have one too. Immediately, the heavenly world beings who had obtained the fruits of life walked out. There were a total of 6. Including the one that Ancestral Gragon had swallowed. There were a total of 7. Ancestral Gragon and the heavenly world beings had ugly expressions. In that case, the evil god tribe had obtained a total of 11 fruits of life. 11 is enough for Moke and Shah Xian to recover. Ancestral Gragon whispered, his face exceptionally gloomy. Although Saint Ancestor Shah Xian's injuries were serious and only had a strand of bloodline left, with so many fruits of life, he would definitely be able to recover. This would be a disaster for the heavenly world. Senior Ancestral Gragon, I'm willing to give this fruit of life to you. Me too. Those who had obtained the fruits of life handed them to Ancestral Gragon. They knew what was important and what was urgent. All right, I'll accept them all. First, I'll heal my injuries. If there are more, I'll give them to the other injured experts to help them recover. Also, if you need anything, just say the word. Ancestral Gragon said. At this time, he did not stand on ceremony. Moreover, the ancient war was exceptionally tragic. Not only was Ancestral Gragon injured, but there were also other experts. For example, peak heavenly emperors, such as the Titan Longhorn Beetle and 9 Lives Demonic Silkworm. But now, their injuries had healed. Chapter 25:18. This Yellow Spring Island is filled with mountains and palaces. It might contain opportunities. Let's form a team and explore it. Then, Ancestral Gragon looked at the mountains and ordered the heavenly realm beings to form small teams and enter the vast mountains to explore and see if they could find any opportunities. As for Lu Ming, he was still on that island, comprehending the word battle. It had been 90 years since he came to this island. After so many years of comprehension, he had benefited a lot. The word battle was too exquisite. As Lu Ming comprehended it, his experience of combat had greatly deepened. Although he did not have any combat skills, Lu Ming's fighting spirit soared as soon as he attacked. His every move was filled with powerful combat strength. His previous battle skills and divine abilities were a lot more powerful when he executed them. The word battle was too wonderful. In other words, no matter what combat skills or divine powers Lu Ming cultivated in the future, their power would be strengthened. No matter what weapon he used, he would be able to wield it with ease and unleash its strongest power. This was battle. As long as it was related to combat, it would be improved. After comprehending the word battle for decades, Lu Ming's cultivation did not improve at all, but his combat strength was stronger. Now, he was more confident. In the past, he did not have much confidence in facing an invincible demigod. Now, he had the confidence to fight. Swoosh, swoosh, boom, boom. Under the cliff, Lu Ming's figure flashed and danced, displaying all kinds of divine powers. Under the support of the word battle, the power of these divine powers was increased by a lot. This cultivation lasted for 9 days and 9 nights. After 9 days and 9 nights, Lu Ming stopped. Phew, Lu Ming let out a long breath, his eyes bright. Awesome. Really awesome. Lu Ming laughed. Crack. At this moment, a crack began to appear on the word battle. Then, more and more cracks appeared. Finally, with a bang, it exploded. It was exactly the same as the previous statue. Lu Ming had already thoroughly comprehended the word war. When the word battle cracked, the void flashed, and the man with the transparent wings reappeared. Not bad. To be able to fully comprehend the battle character formula within 100 years, his talent is not bad. The man with the transparent wings nodded, excitement flashing in the depths of his eyes. Senior, can I proceed to the next stage? Lu Ming said. The next stage? That's it. This is the last stage. The transparent winged man smiled. It's the last stage? Can I head to Yellow Spring Island now? Lu Ming was overjoyed. All right, I'll send you there. The translucent winged man nodded and waved his hand. A disc array flew out and floated above Lu Ming's head. The disc array shot out a pillar of light that enveloped Lu Ming. Lu Ming felt himself stepping into the teleportation array. In the next moment, his body disappeared. The void rotated. After a while, Lu Ming found himself in a spacious hall. Where is this? Is this Yellow Spring Island? Lu Ming was a little stunned. He originally thought that he would appear on the island. He did not expect to appear in a hall. Lu Ming sized up the surroundings. The main hall was empty except for a statue at the very top. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Wasn't this statue the one that he had been looking at previously? However, the statue here did not have the slightest hint of a ruler's will. Lu Ming was a little disappointed. At this moment, a shadow flashed in the void and a figure appeared. It was an elegant middle-aged man in a white robe. This middle-aged man was the one who appeared above the Tree of Life to warn Ancestral Gragon and the others. Congratulations on passing all the stages and arriving here. The elegant middle-aged man smiled. Junior Lu Ming greets Senior. Lu Ming cupped his fists. I'm Baya. The middle-aged man smiled and said, Lu Ming, you've mastered the Tao of Ruler. Your talent is extremely rare, similar to my master's. Tao of Ruler, Senior. Is there really such a Tao between the heavens and earth? It's just a name I came up with. Lu Ming asked. You came up with it? Ha ha ha, that's a coincidence. That's right, the Tao of Ruler does exist. Those who practice the Tao of Ruler will be able to control the God force of the Ruler realm once they rank up to the Martial God realm. It's an extremely high-level God force. Baya said, Martial God realm, God force of the Ruler realm? Lu Ming was confused. That's something the Martial God realm is related to. Your cultivation is still too weak, so you don't have to worry about it. Baya said, most importantly, you've passed all the stages and arrived here. Besides, you've also practiced the Tao of Ruler, thus you can inherit my master's succession. Succession? Lu Ming's eyes flickered. Let me tell you, my master is an extremely powerful existence with outstanding talents and an immeasurable cultivation. The entire Yellow Spring Mountain is my master's treasure, Baya said. Lu Ming inhaled deeply. His heart was filled with great astonishment. The entire Yellow Spring Mountain was Baya's master's treasure. Heavens! The size of the Yellow Spring Mountain was comparable to the total size of the 9 heavens of the heaven realm. It was boundless, with countless living beings, including martial gods. On top of that, Lu Ming had stumbled into a few experts on the Yellow Spring Island. The man with the transparent wings and the scholarly man before him were both immeasurable. Lu Ming suspected that they were both martial gods. Therefore, the master that Baya mentioned was most likely stronger than the martial gods. Stronger than the martial gods? Did such a person really exist? Previously, Lu Ming had thought the martial gods were the strongest existences in the world, but it seemed like that was far from the truth. There were existences stronger than the martial gods. Legend had it that the Yellow Spring Mountain came from the outer world. Thus, there must be existences stronger than the martial gods. Lu Ming's heart was filled with anticipation. At his current level of cultivation, he was almost at the peak of his cultivation. The evil god tribe did not have many opponents in the entire heaven realm. Now that he knew there were existences stronger than the martial gods, Lu Ming had a higher goal. I can obtain the succession of such an existence? Having this thought, Lu Ming's heart burned passionately. My master's name is Jingyu. This statue is my master. You must have seen my master's statue in many places before. That's because this treasure belongs to my master. Therefore, many places worship my master's statue. Baya said. Lu Ming came to a realization. He finally understood why every cursed land had a statue. Unfortunately, my master is dead. He was killed by a traitor. Meanwhile, we in the Yellow Spring Mountain are sealed here. We will never be able to leave for generations. Chapter 25:19. Lu Ming felt a chill run down his spine when Baya released a wisp of his aura. With his current cultivation, he was like an ant facing an elephant. He could not resist at all. Terrifying, extremely terrifying. That was what Lu Ming felt. He had a feeling that if Baya wanted to attack him, he could kill him with a flick of his finger. He did not feel that from the ancestral dragon or the divine ancestor. Lu Ming was even more shocked. An existence like Baya was sealed here and could not leave for generations. Also, Baya's master, Jingyu, was definitely stronger, but he was killed. How strong was their enemy? Also, there were many cursed lands in Yellow Springs Mountain. Were they also set up by their enemy? Thoughts flashed through Lu Ming's mind. However, there is always a way out. Every 10,000 years, the seal of the Yellow Springs Mountain will loosen, and you people from the outside will be able to enter. We have been looking for a suitable candidate to inherit Master's legacy. Unfortunately, there are not many outsiders who come in each time, and very few of them are talented. We have waited for a long time, and finally, you are here. Baya said. Senior, there must be a condition for me to inherit Senior Jingyu's legacy, right? Lu Ming said. Baya looked at Lu Ming with admiration. You are very smart. Not bad. There is indeed a condition. I can tell you this. Back then, Master was framed. He was wronged and died. Master's bloodline will be sealed here forever. Therefore, if you want to inherit Master's legacy, you must swear on your life essence that you will avenge Master in the future, clear his name, and save us from this place. As expected, Lu Ming knew it was not simple. Lu Ming said with a wry smile, Senior, with your cultivation and Senior Jingyu's cultivation, you are not a match for him. How can I do it? You can't do it now, but that doesn't mean you can't do it in the future. There is no time limit for this. With your talent, you may be able to surpass Master in the future. Although this is difficult, there is still some hope. I can tell you that what you have comprehended is only one of the billions of Master's legacy. If you can obtain Master's legacy, you will be able to avoid many detours in the future. Baya began to tempt Lu Ming. Lu Ming's mind was also thinking rapidly. Baya's master, Jingyu, was obviously a terrifying existence. His cultivation was beyond Lu Ming's imagination. Avenging such a person would definitely be very dangerous. However, Lu Ming immediately thought of the evil god tribe. If the foreign race's divine ancestor and divine ancestor shot Xian recovered, he wouldn't even be able to get past the evil god tribe. Everyone in the heaven world would die, including his family and friends. As for agreeing to White Fang's request to avenge Jingyu, that was something that would happen many years later. Furthermore, even if he failed, he would be the only one who would die. Moreover, if he could obtain Jingyu's legacy, he might have a way to fight against the evil god tribe. At the thought of this, Lu Ming made a decision. All right, Senior, I agree. Lu Ming said. Good. Baya was overjoyed. However, you still have to swear on your life origin. Swearing on life origin was different from a blood oath. Blood oaths could be resisted at the martial emperor realm. However, swearing on life origin was directly applied to one's life origin. Not to mention martial emperors, even martial gods would find it difficult to resist. If one went against the oath, they would suffer terrible punishment. Lu Ming immediately swore on life origin, according to Baya's request. Senior, I still don't know who Senior Jingyu's enemy is. Lu Ming said. How could he take revenge if he didn't even know who his enemy was? Do you know about the Taishu dynasty? Baya asked after pondering for a while. Taishu dynasty? Never heard of it. Lu Ming shook his head. Never heard of it? It's normal that you haven't heard of it. Those guys must have sealed us in a very remote place. You should have heard of the Wuji Galaxy, right? Baya said. Wuji Galaxy? Lu Ming was even more confused. I haven't heard of the Wuji Galaxy. What about the primitive universe? You should have heard of it, right? Baya said. Lu Ming shook his head hard. You haven't heard of the primitive universe? Baya was dumbfounded. He looked at Lu Ming and was tongue-tied. Lu Ming couldn't help but touch his nose. He really hadn't heard of it. Was it shameful to not have heard of it? Where did those guys seal us? I haven't even heard of the primitive universe. No wonder so few geniuses came in these years. Ruthless. Those guys are really ruthless. They want us to never be able to rise again. Baya's face was gloomy as he gritted his teeth. Lu Ming was very smart and didn't say a word. A while later, Baya finally calmed down. You don't know anything. Even if I tell you, you won't be able to explain it clearly. How about this? You can inherit master's succession first. After White Fang finished speaking, a picture scroll appeared in his hand. After opening the picture scroll, a young man was drawn on the picture scroll. He was extraordinarily handsome and lifelike. It was Baya's master, Jingyu. On top of that, the will of the ruler of Dao from the portrait was shockingly strong. It was many times stronger than any of the statues that Lu Ming had come into contact with. Lu Ming, use your Dao of the ruler to resonate with Master's portrait. You will be able to inherit Master's succession, Baya said. Lu Ming nodded and immediately executed his Dao of the ruler. As he expected, as soon as he executed his Dao of the ruler, the scroll emitted a purple-golden glow. A moment later, the scroll turned into a ray of light and flew into Lu Ming's mind. At that instant, Lu Ming felt like he could see a young man with his hands behind him standing in his divine sense. His figure was emitting a brilliant purple-golden glow, which represented the will of the ruler of Dao. Battle. At that instant, the young man uttered a roar as the word battle flew out. The word battle was filled with an ancient aura, as if it had come from the river of time. It was as if it represented the origin of all battles between the heavens and earth. It was mystical and immeasurable. It was countless times more mystical than the word battle that Lu Ming had comprehended before. A moment later, the rare phenomena in Lu Ming's mind disappeared. Only two things were left in his divine sense: a scroll, an ancient word battle. There was no other information, nor was there any martial art or secret art. Lu Ming was greatly disappointed. How was it? What did you get from Master's succession? Baya asked. There are only two things. One is a painting, and the other is the ancient word war. There is no other information. Lu Ming said in disappointment. I see. I understand now. Master has sealed everything in the scroll. It must be because your cultivation is too weak that you didn't get any information. Chapter 25-20. Lu Ming was really speechless. His cultivation was too low? One had to know that with his physical body and path of domination combined, he was confident that he could fight a demigod. Now, in the entire heaven realm, evil god realm, and the primordial realm, how many people were his match? But in White Fang's eyes, his cultivation was too low. Don't worry, as long as your cultivation breaks through in the future, the seal in the scroll will also be opened. Not only will there be Master's cultivation method, but there will also be some information about Master's enemies. White Fang said. Lu Ming nodded. Kid, you look very disappointed. You don't know how lucky you are. Do you know how envious I am? Do you know how mysterious the battle word you obtained is? How big of a background it has? That's the origin ancient word. The origin ancient word. Do you understand? If it was in the primitive universe, I'm afraid countless terrifying existences would fight over it. White Fang exclaimed, his eyes full of envy. The origin ancient word? Lu Ming continued to be confused. He realized that he could not understand what White Fang was saying. Forget it. You won't understand even if I say so much. Remember, when you travel in the primitive universe in the future, you must try not to expose the secret of the battle word. Otherwise, it will bring you a fatal disaster. Also, The battle word you comprehended before is only 1/millionth of the origin ancient word. No, it's 1/billionth of it. So, in the future, you have to comprehend more of this battle word. The benefits it will bring you are unimaginable. This battle word was accidentally discovered by Master. He hasn't comprehended it yet. Others don't know about it at all. Otherwise, those guys would definitely not leave behind the inheritance of others. White Fang continued to blabber on and on. Lu Ming seemed to understand, but he could only remember it all in his heart. Also, this is for you. A storage ring appeared in White Fang's hand, and he threw it to Lu Ming. Lu Ming caught it and was overjoyed. There should be some treasures in the storage ring. Lu Ming's spiritual sense probed inside. In the next moment, Lu Ming revealed a trace of disappointment. The things in the storage ring were very simple. There were only two things. There was a sword and a huge wooden chest. With a thought, the sword appeared in Lu Ming's hand. This weapon, Lu Ming sensed it and then injected his world energy into it. Immediately, he felt that this battle sword was like a bottomless pit. Moreover, there was a strong devouring power that crazily devoured the world energy in his body. Lu Ming was so scared that he quickly cut off his connection with the battle sword. How horrifying! Lu Ming felt that if this battle sword erupted, its might would be many times stronger than that of a heavenly Dao tool. This is a divine weapon, a weapon used by martial gods. With your current cultivation, you won't be able to control it. Its energy will be sucked dry. You should use it when you have a breakthrough in your cultivation. White Fang said, divine artifact. Lu Ming's heart shuddered. He finally knew the name of the weapon used by martial gods. The reason being that the ancestral dragon and the sacred ancestor of the non-human tribes had both used weapons of this level. Lu Ming was overjoyed. This weapon was priceless. Lu Ming put the weapon back into the storage ring and took out the wooden chest. As soon as he opened it, a strong medicinal fragrance immediately assailed his nose. Inside the wooden box were many sparkling and translucent fruits. The life essence was simply astonishingly rich. Lu Ming was astounded. He could sense that the fragrance of the fruits was similar to that of the life and death pill, but it was stronger than the life and death pill. These are the fruits of life. White Fang explained. The tree of life on Yellow Springs Island will bear fruit every once in a while. However, for you people from the outside world, the myriad tribulation will only come once. Therefore, I have collected the fruits that bear fruit at other times. There are a total of 180 fruits here. The fruit of life's medicinal effect is not bad. Take it. Thump, thump. Lu Ming's heart pounded rapidly. There were 180 fruits of life. Lu Ming was ecstatic. He was truly ecstatic. As for White Fang's remark that the medicinal effect was not bad, Lu Ming ignored it. Not only was the fruits of life and death pill effective, but they were also priceless treasures. Lu Ming had seen the effects of the life and death pill. The injuries of the Titan longhorn beetle and the 9 lives demonic silkworm could not be healed even after countless years, but they had mostly recovered in a few days. The fruits of life were even more amazing. Didn't the ancestral dragon and the sacred ancestor of the non-human tribes fight to the death for the fruits of life? But now, Lu Ming had obtained 180 fruits of life. Lu Ming quickly closed the lid of the wooden chest and put it away. Lu Ming was over the moon. He was very satisfied. He had gained a lot this time. All right, I've told you what I should, and I've given you what I should. Now, let me send you out. White Fang said. How do we get out? Lu Ming asked. There's a boat on the other side of the Yellow Spring Island. You can take it and leave. I'll transmit my voice to the people on the island. White Fang said. Senior, wait. Lu Ming blurted out. What is it? White Fang asked. Senior, are there people with 3 eyes on the island? Lu Ming asked. That's right. There's a martial god among them. White Fang said. Senior, can you kill the martial god with 3 eyes? Lu Ming asked. If he could kill the sacred ancestor of the non-human tribes, everything would be resolved. No way. White Fang shook his head and said, We've been sealed here. Thus we're under a lot of restrictions. We can't help you. Those people are your enemies, right? You should take care of them yourself. If you can't even take care of such weak enemies, How are you going to face stronger enemies in the future and avenge Master? Saying this, White Fang's figure disappeared with a flicker. Lu Ming was left speechless. Weak? That was a martial god. Yet he was weak. Lu Ming finally realized that his values and thoughts were completely different from White Fang's. There was no way he could compare them. Not long after White Fang left, he came back. All right, I've spread the news. I'll send you out now. With that, White Fang waved his hands and Lu Ming's body disappeared. The next moment, Lu Ming appeared on a mountain peak. Brother Qing Song. As soon as Lu Ming appeared, he saw a few people flying in a certain direction. Brother Lu Ming. Qing Song was overjoyed when he saw Lu Ming. He immediately flew over. Brother Lu Ming, let's go. Senior Ancestral Dragon is summoning us. Qing Song said. Sure. Lu Ming nodded. He followed Qing Song and the others and flew in a certain direction. A while later, they met up not far away from the Tree of Life. Xiao Qing, Dandan. Chapter 25-21. Speaking of which, they had not seen each other for nearly 150 years since they entered Yellow Spring Island. They were naturally happy to meet each other now. Moreover, Lu Ming discovered that whether it was Xian Yinqing or Dandan, their cultivation had greatly improved. Xian Yinqing's cultivation had already reached the peak of 7-star Heavenly Emperor. Dandan was not much worse. He was also a 6-star Heavenly Emperor. At this moment, a pontoon bridge appeared on all the islands in the Yellow Spring Sea region. On those islands, there were many figures rushing towards Yellow Spring Island. They were those who did not reach Yellow Spring Island and stayed on other islands. Soon, Lu Ming saw Lu Xiangxiang, Ouyang Moli, Long Qin, Huang Ling, and the others. None of his friends were fine, and their cultivation had all improved greatly. Lu Ming was relieved. A few hours later, no one appeared on those islands. Everyone is here. Let's go. Ancestral Dragon led everyone and rushed to the side of Yellow Spring Island. Along the coastline, they soon discovered 2 huge warships. Rumble. One of the battleships began to rumble as it sped forward. On it were the foreign race's divine ancestors and some other experts of the Evil God tribe. The Evil God tribe actually left first. One had to know that there were still some Evil God tribe members on the island who had not boarded the ship. Clearly, the foreign race's divine ancestor was afraid that Ancestral Dragon would fight him to the death, so he abandoned some Evil God tribe members and left first. This guy is really despicable, Ancestral Dragon said angrily. He really wanted to fight the foreign race's divine ancestor to the death. Unfortunately, the foreign race's divine ancestor was deliberately avoiding him. The remaining Evil God tribe members sighed helplessly when they saw the foreign race's divine ancestor and the others leave. They had been abandoned. Fortunately, the Yellow Spring world was incomparably huge. Staying here was not much different from staying in the Evil God realm. When they saw the Heaven Realm experts' malicious gazes, their expressions changed. They rushed in another direction and disappeared without a trace in the blink of an eye. Let's go. Ancestral Dragon called everyone to board the heaven-piercing warship. Soon, everyone boarded the heaven-piercing battleship. The heaven-piercing battleship began to move forward, riding the wind and breaking the waves. Before long, a huge vortex appeared, and the outsiders and their heaven-span battleships charged into it. This time, it didn't throw everyone out like it did when they first came in. The 2 sky-reaching battleships followed the vortex and landed below. Then, the water of the Yellow Springs flowed forward, forming a large river. Was this the source of the Yellow Springs River? Everyone couldn't help but think so. The Yellow Springs River originated from here, then flowed one round before returning to the Yellow Springs world, forming a cycle. Therefore, as long as they traveled along the Yellow River, they would one day arrive at the battlefield outside Two Realm City in the Grand Lucid Heaven Domain. However, it would probably take a long time. The battlefield outside Two Realm City was already relatively close to Yellow Springs Mountain. If they took a detour from here, they would probably be very far away. Everyone looked for a place to cultivate. Lu Ming, Xian Yinqing, and the others gathered together, chatted for a while, and then went their separate ways. Lu Ming sat cross-legged on a deck. With a thought, The picture scroll and the word battle appeared in his mind. Lu Ming's attention was focused on the word battle. All of a sudden, Lu Ming sensed that there was an infinitely mysterious aura emerging. This was an extremely mysterious feeling. It could only be sensed, but could not be expressed in words. It was incomparably mysterious and unfathomable. This was Lu Ming's feeling toward the word battle. The word battle that Lu Ming had comprehended when he passed the third trial originated from here, but it was only a trace of it. Lu Ming began to focus on comprehending. The more he comprehended, the deeper his understanding of battle became. The Yellow Springs River was really long. They continued to travel like this for a full 2 years. At this time, the alien race's divine ancestor in front of them made a move. He forcefully tore open a space and then rushed into the space crack with the sky-reaching battleship. That's Tartarus Heaven. Many people saw and recognized the world behind the space crack. Obviously, the alien race's divine ancestor and the others had entered Tartarus Heaven and planned to return from there. Soon, the space closed. They continued forward. Since they had reached Tartarus Heaven, they would not be far from Taiching Heaven. Everyone stopped cultivating and began to wait. Indeed, not long after, the ancestral Gragon made a move and tore open the space. From the space crack, one could see that the other side was the battlefield outside Two Realm City. Let's go. The ancestral Gragon led the sky-reaching battleship through the space crack and returned to the battlefield outside Two Realm City. They were back. Many people exclaimed. This time, they had been in Yellow Springs Mountain for more than 100 years and experienced a lot. Now that they were back, it felt like a dream. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Everyone flew out of the sky-reaching battleship and flew toward Two Realm City. Soon, they were near Two Realm City. Senior Ancestral Gragon and the others are back. When they approached, the experts on Two Realm City noticed them and hurriedly opened the array to let them in. After entering, they learned that in the past 100 years, the Heaven Realm and the Evil God Tribe had not made any moves and had been in a stalemate. Then, everyone bid farewell and left. This time, many people had fortuitous encounters in Yellow Springs Mountain. Especially on Yellow Springs Island, many people had fortuitous encounters and needed to find a place to go into seclusion and digest them. The ancestral Gragon also left and returned to the lair of Zulong. He needed to use the fruit of life to recover from his injuries. Now, they were in a hurry. It could be foreseen that the alien race's divine ancestor would also recover from his injuries at the fastest speed. Lu Ming, Xian Yinqing, Dandan, Xiang Xiang, and the others stayed in Two Realm City for the time being. Lu Ming, I have to go too. My cultivation has reached the 6-star Heavenly Emperor realm. I want to find a place to go into seclusion and break through to the peak of the Heavenly Emperor realm. I want to return to my previous peak level. Dandan bid farewell to Lu Ming. Dandan, this is for you. Lu Ming waved his hand, and a jade box flew to Dandan. Dandan reached out and received it. When he opened it, an extremely rich medicinal fragrance wafted out. Dandan's pupils contracted, revealing a fiery look as he exclaimed, "This is the fruit of life. Kid, how did you get the fruit of life?" He remembered that when they were fighting for the fruit of life, Lu Ming was not there. Shu, lower your voice. Lu Ming glanced at Dandan. Fortunately, there were only the two of them here, and no one else. Who am I? Let me tell you, I have a lot of fruits of life. Lu Ming said proudly. Really? Dandan was skeptical. Nonsense, of course it's true. You can use this fruit of life to restore your cultivation to its peak. Lu Ming said. The fruit of life not only treated injuries, but also had the ability to steal the fortune of heaven and earth. In fact, even if someone who was not injured took the fruit of life, its function was extremely heaven-defying. Chapter 25-22. You really have more, then give me another one. Dandan's eyes lit up, and he began to look around Lu Ming's body. I knew you were insatiable. Lu Ming curled his lips. Hey, what do you mean insatiable? Now that the war with the foreign races is imminent, I want to raise my cultivation. In ancient times, I was not far from the demigod realm. If you give me another life fruit, I will definitely be able to break through to the demigod realm. Dandan shouted. All right, I'll give you another one. Lu Ming waved his hand, and another jade box flew towards Dandan. Dandan received it and looked at it. He swallowed a mouthful of saliva and looked at Lu Ming with even more fiery eyes. Get lost, there's no more. Lu Ming berated. In the end, Dandan reluctantly left. After Dandan left, Lu Ming found Xian Yinqing and gave Xian Yinqing 2 life fruits. Xian Yinqing's cultivation was at the peak of the heavenly emperor realm. Although Xian Yinqing was not injured, relying on the 2 life fruits, he could also unleash his potential and help him break through to the demigod realm. After that, Lu Ming called Bubbles, Xiang Xiang, Ouyang Moli, Huang Ling, Long Chen, and the others over and gave each of them 1 life fruit. Lu Xiang Xiang, Ouyang Moli, and the others' cultivation was not very high. After consuming a life fruit, they would definitely transform and have endless potential. In the future, when they cultivated, their path would definitely be smooth and they would improve quickly. After that, Lu Ming returned to Yuan Lu and gave his parents and Autumn Moon a life fruit each. Lu Ming's parents, with Lu Ming's help, refined the life fruit and their cultivation sword. In a short month, they broke through to the martial sage realm. The life fruit was simply too heaven-defying. Even the martial god had a great effect on it. Using it on a martial emperor was simply a waste of resources. However, Lu Ming did not care. Moreover, it was impossible for a martial emperor or martial sage to refine the life fruit. If they consumed it, their bodies would probably explode from the medicinal strength. However, with the help of Lu Ming's sovereign Tao, there was no problem. Li Ping and Lu Yuntian broke through to the martial sage realm and their lifespans reached more than 100,000 years. Only then was Ming satisfied. Furthermore, the medicinal effects of the fruits of life were too heaven-defying. They were far from being able to refine them. In the coming days, their cultivation bases would definitely skyrocket. With the help of the life fruit, their comprehension speed of the laws were shockingly fast. In time, breaking through to the martial emperor realm was not a problem. As for Qiuyu, Lu Xiangxiang, and the others, their cultivation would also advance by leaps and bounds in the coming days. After one round, Lu Ming consumed 15 fruits of life. After settling these matters, Lu Ming then calmed down and started to think about his cultivation path. Next, he had 2 paths. One was to cultivate the 7 gods' mysterious art and break through the physical body. He had already cultivated his physical body to the peak of the heavenly emperor realm. Next, he could start to break through to the martial god realm. However, the 7th level of the 7 gods' mysterious art only had 4 words: return to 1. This left him scratching his head and without a clue. After thinking for a while, Lu Ming decided to put down his physical body and cultivate the sovereign Tao. The sovereign Tao, he was only at the peak of the great emperor realm. Next, he could break through to the heavenly emperor realm. There was still a long way to go. Moreover, the sovereign Tao had Jing Yu's painting as a reference. It would be much easier to cultivate. Having made a decision, Lu Ming began to focus on comprehending the sovereign Tao. Now, his cultivation was at the peak of the great emperor realm. The next step was to break through to the heavenly emperor realm. Lu Ming focused on cultivating. In a blink of an eye, a few months had passed. Lu Ming stopped cultivating. His eyes flickered with doubt. While he was cultivating the sovereign Tao, he felt a powerful force between the heavens and earth stopping him, preventing him from breaking through. The force felt like the force of the world, the force of the heavenly Tao. What's going on? Why is the force of the heavens and earth stopping me? Lu Ming frowned. He could not figure it out. He began to feel anxious in his heart. There was not much time left for him. Now that the foreign tribe's divine ancestor had returned with 11 fruits of life, he and sacred ancestor Sha Xian would consume the fruits of life to recover their cultivation. Once they recovered, a great battle would break out. The final battle was about to begin. Lu Ming had to make a breakthrough in his cultivation before that. Be it his physical body or the sovereign Tao, he had to make a breakthrough in one of them. Otherwise, he would not be a match for the foreign tribe's divine ancestor and sacred ancestor Sha Xian. Let's ask Senior Ancestral Dragon. Lu Ming planned to ask Ancestral Dragon. Moreover, he still had a large number of fruits of life. He planned to give away some of them to improve the combat power of the heavenly realm. At the thought of this, Lu Ming moved. He tore the space apart and soon arrived at the lair of Zulong. He flew toward the mountain where Ancestral Dragon lived. When he arrived at the main hall at the highest point, a figure flashed and stopped Lu Ming. It was the five-element Qilin, one of the top 10 battle beasts. Senior, I have an important matter to discuss with Senior Ancestral Dragon. Lu Ming clasped his fists. Senior Ancestral Dragon is recuperating in seclusion. I'm afraid it's not convenient for him to see you. The five-element Qilin said. Recuperating in seclusion? Lu Ming sighed. If he had known this would happen, he would have asked Ancestral Dragon about it when he first returned. It's fine. At this moment, a figure flashed and Ancestral Dragon appeared. Senior, you. The five-element Qilin was stunned. This is just a projection of me. My real body is refining the fruits of life to heal. Ancestral Dragon smiled. Lu Ming and the five-element Qilin both let out a long sigh of relief. Five-element Qilin, you may leave first. Ancestral Dragon said. Yes. The five-element Qilin bowed and accepted the order, then left. Lu Ming, why are you looking for me? Ancestral Dragon smiled. Senior, I'm here this time because I have something to give you. Lu Ming took out a storage ring and handed it to Ancestral Dragon. Ancestral Dragon took it curiously and scanned it with his spiritual consciousness. In the next moment, Ancestral Dragon's eyes widened and his mouth fell open. Originally, with his temperament, there were almost no things in the heaven realm that could shock him like this. However, there were things in the storage ring that Lu Ming gave him. Because there were a total of 100 fruits of life in Lu Ming's storage ring. Lu Ming had a total of 180 fruits of life. He had used 15 before, so there were 165 left. Lu Ming kept 65 for himself and gave the rest to Ancestral Dragon. Fruits of life. These are fruits of life. So many of them. Ancestral Dragon mumbled to himself. Even his breathing became heavier. Lu Ming, how did you get so many fruits of life? Ancestral Dragon said in disbelief. I had a fortunate encounter at the Yellow Spring Island, so I took all the fruits of life that the island had produced over the years. Lu Ming smiled and continued. I'll give these fruits of life to you to heal your injuries. No, this is too much. Keep some for yourself. Ancestral Dragon said. I've already kept some for myself. Chapter 25-23. Ancestral Dragon was speechless. After a while, he said, Actually, we obtained 7 before. If I want to heal my injuries, 5 would be enough. However, during the ancient war, many experts in my heaven realm were seriously injured. Their life source was damaged, and it has been difficult for them to recover after so many years. These life fruits can be given to them. This way, the strength of my heaven realm will increase by a lot. Then it's all up to Senior. Lu Ming said. This was his original intention when he gave these life fruits to Ancestral Dragon. Lu Ming, this time, you have made a great contribution to our heaven realm. If you have any requests, feel free to ask. Ancestral Dragon said with a smile. Senior, this junior really has a question to ask. Senior, this junior wants to ask, what is 10,000 yuan returned to 1? Lu Ming asked. 10,000 yuan returned to 1? Ancestral Dragon carefully sized up Lu Ming and asked, Your cultivation has already reached this step. Show me. All right. Lu Ming nodded, then his muscles trembled, and his blood and qi rolled like a dragon. His aura was astonishing. This was the power of the physical body. Then, his body emitted a dazzling purple-gold light. Lu Ming also unleashed the Tao of Sovereign to the extreme. Good, good, good. Ancestral Dragon's face was filled with excitement as he said good 3 times. In his eyes, he had previously felt that Lu Ming's cultivation was incomparably powerful. Now that he confirmed it, he really could not hide the excitement in his heart. His physical body was at the peak of the heavenly emperor realm, and his Tao of Sovereign had also reached an astonishing level. Such a young age, this was simply a miracle. He understood that he had still underestimated Lu Ming. Lu Ming's trip to the Yellow Springs world this time was probably an unimaginable opportunity. However, the stronger Lu Ming was, the better it was for the Heaven Realm. The happier he was. Lu Ming, you have encountered a bottleneck in your cultivation, right? Ancestral Gragon asked. That's right, Senior. Please guide me. Lu Ming nodded. The next step for your flesh is the Martial God Realm. In order to rank up to the Martial God Realm, you must have some understanding of this realm. The Martial God Realm is different from all the realms before the Martial God Realm. The Martial God Realm is called a god, but it has already reached another category. Before the Martial God Realm, it can be said to be the first step of cultivation. Cultivating to the peak of the Heavenly Emperor Realm can be considered to have cultivated the first step to perfection, and the Martial God Realm is the second step of cultivation. Ancestral Gragon explained in detail. Lu Ming listened attentively. At the same time, he was shocked. The cultivation before the Martial God Realm was only the first step. Achieving the Martial God Realm was the second step. Did that mean that the second step of cultivation also had many realms? The Martial God Realm is very special. It mainly cultivates divine power. The ancestral dragon added. Divine power? Lu Ming was puzzled. He thought back to the ancestral dragon, the other race's sacred ancestor, and the other race's sacred ancestor. That's right, divine power, but in order to cultivate it, you have to combine the elements into one. What do you mean by combining all kinds of forces, such as the rules, intents, great Tao, heavenly Tao, mystical skills, the force of the flesh, the force of the world, etc.? No matter what kind of force or system you're practicing, they will all merge together in the end and transform into a higher level force, which is the divine power. Only by achieving this step can one achieve the Martial God Realm. As a matter of fact, the so-called undefeatable experts, who are half martial gods, have already achieved this step. They have already combined the elements into one, igniting a godly flame in their bodies. The ancestral dragon said, "If everything is combined into one, then the small world in your body," Lu Ming asked in astonishment. Everything has to be combined into one, transforming into the divine power. The divine power is unparalleled and powerful. The force of the world is nothing before the divine power. The Tao of rulers that you practice will transform into the divine power of the ruler realm when you achieve the Martial God Realm. It's a terrifying divine power. The ancestral dragon was slightly envious, but it soon turned into a sigh. Unfortunately, it's impossible for this world to have a god. It's impossible to have a god? What's going on? Lu Ming blurted out. He had a feeling that he was about to learn the secrets of the ancestral dragon. Sigh. The ancestral dragon let out another sigh. He fell silent for a moment before saying, "The conditions of the heaven realm, the primordial realm, or the demon god realm aren't enough to support a god's breakthrough. In other words, the conditions are too bad. They can only reach the half-martial god realm at most." The half-martial god realm at most? Lu Ming was dumbfounded. A moment later, he asked, "Senior, and the sacred ancestor of the non-human tribes, you're curious about how we reached the martial god realm, right? That's because we're not from the heaven realm or the evil god realm. We came from the outside. When we came, we were already in the martial god realm." The ancestral dragon said. What? This time, Lu Ming was really dumbstruck. The ancestral dragon, the sacred ancestor of the non-human tribes, and the other martial gods were not from the heaven realm or the demon god tribe. They had come from the outside. This was truly beyond his expectations. The outside, is it the ancient desolation universe? The thought crossed Lu Ming's mind. He recalled the words that Baya had told him. "Senior, does that mean we can break through outside?" Lu Ming asked. Sigh. The ancestral dragon let out another sigh. He fell silent for a moment before shaking his head. "We can't leave now." "We can't leave?" Lu Ming was even more confused. "It's related to a lot of things. Now's not the time to tell you. I'll tell you when I have the chance in the future." The ancestral dragon shook his head and changed the topic. "Therefore, it's not suitable for you to cultivate your flesh now. You can only reach the half-martial god realm no matter how hard you try. You should focus on cultivating the Tao of rulers." Once you break through to the Heaven Emperor realm, you'll have a chance against a martial god. At least, you can do it in the Heaven realm. Lu Ming withdrew his thoughts and suppressed the doubts in his heart. He said, Senior, I've been cultivating the Tao of Rulers, but I always feel like the world is stopping me, as if the heavenly Tao is suppressing me. What's going on? That's normal. It's because the Tao of Rulers is too domineering. The ancestral dragon said, the Tao of Rulers can dominate the world. It's extremely domineering. Even in the outside world, it's a rare force. The heavenly Tao is afraid. Afraid? That's right. Once you break through to the Heaven Emperor realm, you'll be able to dominate the world with the Tao of Rulers, including the heavenly Tao. Therefore, the heavenly Tao is afraid, trying its best to suppress you and stop you from breaking through. Therefore, when you broke through to the martial monarch realm, the heavenly tribulation was so powerful. It's because the heavenly Tao is stopping you. The ancestral dragon explained. Lu Ming came to a realization. No wonder it was so difficult for him to break through to the martial monarch realm, and the strength of the heavenly tribulation was beyond his imagination. The reason was that the heavenly Tao was afraid. Chapter 25-24. If you want to break through, you must continue to comprehend the Tao of Sovereign and deepen your understanding of the Tao of Sovereign. At the same time, you must continue to raise your strength. When your strength reaches a certain level, you will be able to break through the obstruction of the heavenly path and break through to the heavenly emperor realm. Ancestral Dragon said. Lu Ming was enlightened. As expected of a martial god, Ancestral Dragon had pointed out the direction for Jiang Chun. Jiang Qin's future cultivation would focus on the Tao of Sovereign and the battle formula. As long as his strength was strong enough, he would be able to break through the heavenly path and break through to the heavenly emperor realm. Thank you, Senior. Lu Ming thanked Ancestral Dragon with joy. You don't have to thank me. Lu Ming, you are now the variable in this war and the hope of the heavenly realm. The outcome of this war depends on you. Ancestral Dragon said. Senior, you're exaggerating. Lu Ming said. I'm not exaggerating. It's the truth. Currently, the heavenly realm is in a passive position. The Divine Ancestor has obtained enough fruits of life. He and Divine Ancestor Sha Xin will definitely recover. Even if I fight the Divine Ancestor to the death, he will be able to stop me and give Divine Ancestor Sha Xin time to recover. Once Divine Ancestor Sha Xin recovers, we'll be in trouble. On the other hand, if I don't fight the Sacred Ancestor, I won't be able to fight them on my own once they recover. Meanwhile, the other half-martial gods won't be able to achieve the martial god realm. In other words, we're in a passive position. However, you're different. As long as you cultivate the Tao of Sovereign and break through to the heavenly emperor realm, you'll have the power to dominate the heavens and earth. Therefore, you're the hope of the heavenly realm. Ancestral Dragon said a long and heartfelt speech. Lu Ming fell silent. He knew that Ancestral Dragon was right. I'll do my best to break through to the heavenly emperor realm. Lu Ming nodded solemnly. With the help of the fruit of life, Divine Ancestor Moke and I will recover in at most a few hundred years. However, Divine Ancestor Sha Xin's injuries are more serious and he will need more time to recover. According to my estimation, Divine Ancestor Sha Xin will recover in at most 1,000 years. Therefore, we have at most 1,000 years left. Ancestral Dragon said. 1,000 years? Lu Ming muttered as he clenched his fists. He must break through to the heavenly emperor realm within 1,000 years. Lu Ming, the Tao of the Sovereign Realm is too profound. I've only heard of it before, but have never seen it with my own eyes. Therefore, I can't give you much guidance. You will have to rely on yourself. Ancestral Dragon said. This time, I still have to thank you, Senior. Lu Ming bowed and cupped his fists. All right. If you have any other questions in the future, feel free to look for me. Go. Ancestral Dragon said. Lu Ming turned around and left the lair of Zulong, returning to the heaven realm. 1,000 years at most. Time is running out. Lu Ming muttered. The final battle would break out in 1,000 years at most. In this 1,000 years, not only did he have to make a breakthrough, But Lu Ming also wanted his family and friends to make breakthroughs as soon as possible so that they would have enough strength to protect themselves when the catastrophe came. Lu Ming planned to choose a good place in heaven and gather all of his family and friends. He planned to pool resources and provide for everyone's cultivation. In fact, his current small world was already big enough. However, although it was big enough, the cultivation conditions were still incomparable to the heaven realm. Lu Ming left the two-world city and began to search in the heaven realm. A few days later, Lu Ming appeared in the southern region of the Taiching Sky Domain, standing on a vast mountain. "This is it." Lu Ming smiled. The origin qi in this mountain was extremely rich. One of the main peaks was 100,000 feet high, piercing through the sky. Lu Ming took a step forward and appeared at the top of this mountain. Then, with a thought, his small world emerged. "Rise!" Lu Ming shouted. In the small world, the enlightenment ancient tree rose with its roots and flew out of the small world, bringing a large amount of soil with it, and landed on the top of the mountain. As soon as it landed on the top of the mountain, the roots of the enlightenment ancient tree wriggled and pierced into the soil of the mountain, taking root there. Lu Ming planned to plant the enlightenment ancient tree there first and turn it into a cultivation holy land, where all his family and friends would gather. Now, the enlightenment ancient tree was 3,000 meters tall, covering the sky and the sun. It was incomparably huge. The aura of the great Tao lingered between each of its branches. Woo woo roar. As soon as the enlightenment ancient tree appeared, countless monsters and strange beasts in the surrounding mountains sensed it and gathered crazily in this direction. "Get lost!" Lu Ming shouted coldly, and a terrifying aura burst out, shrouding all the mountains. It was as if a huge dragon was looking down on a group of ants. All of the demonic beasts were almost scared to death. They immediately ran away, one by one. Whoosh! Whoosh! Lu Ming moved and began to inscribe a large formation near this mountain range, covering a radius of 1,000,000 miles. Lu Ming spent a full month to inscribe a large formation. "My cultivation of formation is far from enough. In the future, I'll get Dandan to work hard and inscribe a large formation." Lu Ming smiled. Then, he sent a message to Tu-yi and Lei-yi, asking them to come over. Not long after, Tu-yi, Lei-yi, and the others arrived. "From now on, you guys will stay here," Lu Ming said. Yes, Tu-yi and the others accepted the order. "Also, take these 6 weapons." 6 weapons appeared in Lu Ming's hand, and he handed them to Feng-yi, Hua-yi, and the others. "These are amazing weapons." Hua-yi and the others were shocked when they sensed it. "These weapons are equivalent to heavenly Tao weapons. You can use them as long as you inject energy into them," Lu Ming said. Lu Ming had brought out dozens of weapons of this level from Yellow Spring Mountain. Tu-yi, Jin-yi, and Lei-yi all had heavenly Tao weapons. Lu Ming did not give any to them, but gave one each to Hua-yi and the others. "Thank you, young master." Hua-yi and the others thanked him gratefully. Then, they led the other puppets of the Chaos Palace and started to build in this area. Soon, huge palaces and various cultivation grounds spread out with the Enlightenment Ancient Tree as the center. Next, he went to the battlefield outside Two World City to find Evil Swordsman and Kinfei Ryu. Evil Swordsman had also injured his origin in the ancient war. Lu Ming gave him a fruit of life. After Evil Swordsman consumed it, his injuries were healed in a short while. Evil Swordsman's original cultivation was a 5-star Heavenly Emperor. Now, not only had his injuries healed, but he had also broken through to become a 6-star Heavenly Emperor. Of course, Lu Ming did not stay for long. After he gave Evil Swordsman a fruit of life, he left and returned to the primordial realm. He brought the people of the Dragon Alliance and Divine Dragon Valley to the Heavenly Realm, to the new territory that he had opened up. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.